We have a very special guest in the studio. Irina, congratulations. First of all, win, but with the black pieces. So before you unravel the mysteries of your game today and your preparation, please tell us, how do you feel? Is it an advantage to play on the home turf?
Well, we'll see when the tournament is over, you know. But in general, of course, I'm happy to play in St. Louis, any kind of tournament, whether it's like a national event or an international event. And yeah, of course, I don't have to deal with the jet lag. You know, that is always nice, right? As like someone who's often like had to go and play in Europe, it's definitely nice to have some events at home. But I think maybe the bigger advantage is just that like how much I love St. Louis, you know, because I've been coming here, you know, since 2009, multiple times a year. So I feel like really comfortable here, and I'm always happy to come back.
Okay, so let's have a look at your game. First of all, tell us a little bit about the opening. Were you expecting this variation, and what were the critical moments?
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting an open Sicilian as the most likely line. So it was kind of like, you know, she's quite principled in her opening choices with white. So like the rouser variation, not a surprise. We've had that in games between ourselves before. So, I mean, it was only a question of like, you know, which, let's say, rouser was I going to pick, right? And so I went for something. I've played this line sometimes in the past. We can go, yeah. With
Bishop B7?
Yeah, Bishop D7
so
line. And
you were expecting F4 or F3?
Yeah, I mean, F4 she's played a few times, so like there was nothing really unexpected. Like it's just about like, you basically have to agree that you're going to play this structure of position with the doubled F pawns. You know, I mean, of course, the computer is always going to give an edge to white. But what I found in the game, I mean, it's a really rich position, and I actually enjoyed playing it.
Okay, so let's have a look. So Irina, here, yeah, it's where the structure is changed. So you're forced to take G takes F6, of course, otherwise white is taken on D6. F5, H5 is
yeah,
a very
she's played
standard
F5 before, right? So like that's also, you know, just the most direct move in this position. And okay, I would say that H5 is it's an option for black. There's a lot of ways black can play this position, so this was just something that I had like picked out for today, you know.
Okay. And well, I wanted to come back to this position, and actually I thought that Queen B6 is a mistake because Jean-Sai is such a dynamic player. So after Queen B6, the game went your way. So what do you think?
So look, let me tell you actually what I thought was the first critical moment of the game. So it was, okay, well, we can go quickly through like Queen A5, like after King B1, Queen A5. Okay, so Queen A5 is a typical move for these positions, right? Like pinning the knight so that she cannot transfer it to E2. So you're like kind of holding off this maneuver. So she played Bishop D3. It's one of the possible moves. I castled queenside, Rook H1. Yes. Yeah, very natural centralization, King B7. And yeah, the reason the king is going to B7 is to sometimes give the queen these Queen B6 ideas. So Queen F2, Rook C8. And like really my big think in the game came after she played Knight E2. Because here, like, okay, on one hand you're thinking, okay, Knight B4, A3, Knight takes D3, Rook D3. Do you want that position? Yeah, with the two bishops versus the two knights. I kind of decided I didn't. Yeah, I see. I see that was correct. At some point I was just like, there's so many ideas here for white. I basically improved her rook. Sometimes there's even ideas like Queen H4, E5, like blowing up the center. So I thought for a long time here, and ultimately I went for this move E5, and I was quite happy with this. It wasn't the first move that came to my mind, but you know, normally you're not supposed to really play this move if the knight has access to D5. But here I realized like if she goes Knight C3, Knight B4 actually seems to work out in terms of tempos, you know, because Rook takes C3 is coming. And yeah, let's say A3, Rook C3. If she actually takes, well, if she takes on B4, then Queen B4 kind of holds everything, even after Queen D2, Rook, like she can't pin me because Queen D2 and Rook HC8, you know, and I don't lose my Rook, basically. There's no way she can win it because even after King C1, there's like Queen A4 and there's checkmate on A1.
It's a beautiful variation.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, there were some cool things involved, and I really felt like this move E5 was like really an important decision, right? Because you're changing the pawn structure. Obviously, you're also keeping out the knight from D4 and F4. And so I see the computer is not super impressed with this move, but you know, honestly, I felt like it was a decent move, and it kind of like that's where the game started to change, you know. So she went Knight C1 quite quickly. Queen B6, yeah, and I mean, she has a big choice here. I did feel, like you said, queen trade just in general, like not a bad thing against an attacking player, right? So, and I actually just thought the endgame was not going to be a problem for black.
So, but did she have an option like of like keeping the queens
queen
on the board?
E2,
What were you
queen D2. I mean, what was I going to do here? Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any specific plans, to be honest. You can, like, at some point you can think about even like, well, no, okay, maybe not B4. Actually, knight A5 was one idea. There you go. Now I remember some of my thoughts. Knight A5, yeah. And yeah, you know, the knight can come to C4 sometimes, or even just B4 maybe. Maybe play rook C7, rook C8. But yeah, it felt kind of normal.
Okay, so queen B6. So what did you feel here? Were you happy after?
Yeah, I felt, I didn't think that I should be worse. Like I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do on knight E2, but I felt like I was going to have a way to keep her knight out of D5. And then that was my next big thing of the game when I found this bishop D8, knight E7, which, you know, again, I was quite happy to see that idea because the knight on E7 is doing a good job, but the bishop on C7 is also not so terrible.
Okay, Irina, you have to walk us through the most important moments of the game because like we have very little time because I think I wanted to ask you here, it was one of the crucial moments of the game because your opponent sacrificed in exchange. Look, you didn't take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't take it.
What did you think here?
Yeah, okay, so I took the knight, right? So it's basically the question of I mean, why didn't take it? I mean, I guess I was just like, you know, white takes with a knight, plays bishop D3, bishop E4, and I was kind of like afraid that, you know, there would be some big compensation here, you know, but I see there's not. And I also thought like I'll probably be able to take the rook later, which didn't work out. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely I knew that this moment, like I kind of messed it up.
Okay, and then, well, I think it's a human decision because it's not easy to evaluate if, well, there could be a fortress on the white squares. So let's have a look at this very important moment where your opponent took on F7. Did you have a feeling here that you were already winning?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like it's much easier to play this position on intuition for black than for white, right? And it's kind of like what I felt was like she was kind of trying to play on intuition this endgame, but the problem is it's a lot harder to do that as white. You know, white has like specific problems to solve. Black has very few things they need to think about except how to promote the H pawn and like make mating threats to the white king, right? So when she took the pawn, it was like it didn't shock me or anything because I just felt like she was kind of in this mode, right? Like she went for the A pawn, she abandoned the H pawn. So I mean, I didn't know like if this was the big mistake or it had already happened, but like I knew that, you know, it's going to be very uncomfortable for white to play.
Yes, and here you made a few precise moves, so rook H1, of course.
Yeah, my favorite move was bishop D4 in the end, you know? That was one thing I actually stopped to calculate, because I don't know if king C3 is as good, bishop D4, I was like, oh, I'm threatening checkmate, rook H1. And then I'm also threatening rook B2, rook C2 winning the bishop, and she cannot, here's the line that I calculated. I'll actually show you the nice one. So let's say she plays like bishop B5, right? Bishop B5 check. Yes. So I was going to go king C3. And okay, so I'm threatening, well, let's say she goes rook D8. Yeah, and so basically I just go rook H1, king A2, and H2, because now I got her bishop off the diagonal. And the problem is, yeah, I mean, if she's going rook H8, then just king C2 is going to be mate. And here, okay, yeah, here I guess I just move my rook and promote. Yeah.
Okay, Irina. Thank you very much. We have to go.
You gotta go. All right.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations to you, Irina.